52-week garden. I'm Paul, and I've got another episode here for you. I have built a manual hay baler. It's a lever action manual hay baler. I built this out of a bunch of material I had laying around in my shed in my garage. After an exhaustive search, I was able to get everything I needed out of stuff I already had on hand without having to go to Lowe's. Now, I looked up a plan for these online, saw several different ones, liked this particular style, but I never could find a full set of plans with measurements and parts and all that. So I had to kind of just look at the picture and make it up as I go. It's basically some, I don't know, 1/4-inch plywood and some 1/2-inch plywood and also some strand board there. You can see I've got some OSB. Anyhow, that's how I built it, and it works really well. I've made 2 bales so far, this one and this one. It makes a perfect 36-inch by 19-inch by 15-inch bale, just like any other standard bale. Those are ones I bought. These are ones I made from a bunch of free hay that I was given from broken bales from a hay supplier. So now I can turn this broken bale hay into actual bales to finish my garden. Let me show you how it works real quick. We've got 3 hinges here, and they're just wrapped around here. Now I used 3/4-inch plywood, or no, that's 1/2-inch. Yeah, that's 1/2-inch plywood I used for the door because it takes a lot of pressure pushing out this way when you compress it. The sides and back are OSB, and there's a piece of a 1/4-inch plywood on that side, and all of these are 1/4-inch. So use 2x4s down both sides, 2x4s on the back corners. Also ran a 2x4 this way between my upright fulcrum piece. This is bolted directly into the wood down here, and then I have big long screws going down into here several places and back into here. Same thing on this side, so it's really rigid, really strong. You have your arm, which is 2 20-inch pieces of 2x4, and then you have a 50-inch piece of 2x4 here that is your lever, and then these sandwich the lever, and that gives you a gap here. This is a 24-inch piece of 2x4 for your pressure pad. The pressure pad, I believe I cut 13x16 to fit in here. And then I have a couple of 2x4s here. I don't remember the length. This is 13, so I think I cut them 12. And that's sandwiched on your lever pendulum, sandwiched here, and then all screwed together from up here. So it's super good. Now on this fulcrum, well, that's the fulcrum, but on this lever arm where I sandwiched it together here, I put 3, 6, 9, 12. I put close to 15 screws, 16 screws in both sides of this thing so that this will stay rigid. There's one 6-inch lag bolt here, carriage bolt, going through here that lets the pendulum swing back and forth. And then there's one 6-inch lag bolt going through here, which is my pivot point. You also have to have a deck out front. And the reason for the deck isn't obvious at first, but if you realize that once you fill this with hay and then go flip your lever over and go to pull it down, if you don't have a deck out front, it'll just tip over on you. So this deck acts as leverage so that when you're pulling down on the lever, this deck is keeping the thing upright. So the deck isn't there for any other reason really than to keep this thing from tipping over. Another couple of details. I marked my 36-inch point here for a 36-inch tall bale and cut myself a little observation window so I can tell when I've pressed it down that far. And then I cut myself 2 long openings in the front, and you'll see that's for being able to run my strings through, pull them back up, and then tie them together once I've got it compressed. I have 2 simple hasps here to lock the door and unlock the door. I put myself a piece of 1x2 here to hold the little hasp catches here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. A whole lot of wood screws, some 2.5-inch screws for where I want to lock 2x4s together, and a whole bunch of 1.5 inch screws, just screwing the side materials to the 2x4s from the inside. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Now let me show you the inside. This is a very important detail. You see these little cleats right here, and there's 2 of them there, and there's 2 of them on the floor, and you'll see these little eye hooks right here. Now the eye hooks are not to catch the string in, otherwise it won't come out. I'm actually using the back of the eye hook in this little gap that it creates here. I've got the eye hook where it's just close to the cleat, close enough to where it pinches the string when I shove it down in there, and then the string can move freely, and then when I'm done compressing and tying and pull the bail out and pull the bail forward, the strings will just pop right out. It's just a pressure fit right there is all I got. I've got it close to the cleat but open just a little bit so I can pop the string in there with a little bit of effort. Okay, so there's 1 here, 2 of them down there on those cleats, 1, 2, and then there's 2 of them on these cleats. Also, you'll notice these top cleats, I cut them at a bevel. Okay, and that's so that the foot of your pressure pad, when it comes down, it'll hit these and slide off so it doesn't catch on the top of them. I figured that out as I was going along too. Now, I also cut a slot here and a slot here, and what that is for is when you get your string, you loop it over and tie a knot in the end of it, and so you've got a loop, and then you catch the loop over here. And then bring your strings down and catch them behind the cleats, in between the cleats and the eye hooks, and bring them out and then feed them through the door. I'll show you that real quick. Last year's Bale strings. You see I've got all of them here, and there's a whole lot more. These things last for many, many years in the sun. They don't deteriorate, so you can use them without worry. They've got a knot in the center. What it takes is 2.5 of these to do 1 bale. You cut the knot out of one and then cut it in half, because you only need half of it per side. Then you take another one and you cut it about 5 or 6 inches past the knot. Bring it back around to its own string just past the knot. Tie a knot to secure it to the string, and then slip it up, that knot up against this knot, to make a secure loop that won't get any smaller. Alright, once you've got that done, take the far end, tie it to the half string that you cut in half, and now you have 1 Bale string. Once you have that ready, you bring them, and the first thing you do is you take your secure loop and you put it through the notch here and secure it in the back. Then you bring it down and you secure it. Bring it around here. You secure it right there behind the cleat. And you do that here. And you do it down here. And you do it here. Then you bring the one on the right and bring it through the right hand hole in the door. Bring the one on the left all the way down behind the cleats, and then put it through the left hand hole. You close your door and you secure both of the hasps, and then you bring the excess string out. Now you're ready to load the bale maker from the top, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to finish securing these hasps, put my gloves on, I'm going to load the bale maker, and then show you what happens next. Now that I've got the bale maker stuffed about as full as I can get it by hand, I can't press it down anymore by hand, I'm going to lift my lever over. Now, one of the things I have to do is lift this up. It works a little better when I'm using 2 hands. Okay, so you can see my piece goes down in there. My arm's up here, and once I've got it down in there, I just walk out here to the end of the arm where I have all the leverage at, and I just pull down. And you can see it goes right down and compresses the hay. You can see it through the slots there. All right, you lift it up out of the way, and you continue to load. All right, now I filled it up a second time. I filled up until I couldn't fill up anymore and pressed it once. Now I filled it up a second time. Now one of the things is when you fill it up the second time, you'll fill it up the top. When you put this press in here, it's not going to want to go all the way to the back because hay's in the way. You just press a little bit and then reach back and tuck down and pull this back, and then press a little bit and then reach in and tuck down and pull this back again. Once you get it against the back wall, then you're ready to go ahead and pull this down. And I just start pulling down and walking down the lever. And again, this is a little easier to do with 2 hands, but I'm using one here, and I'm using my left hand, my weak side. I'm going to switch to my strong side on my right hand. And you're just going to push this down. And you see I bottomed it right out there, and I'm well below my 36 inches. So it normally takes about 3 fillings to get it to where it's packed tight enough where I feel good putting the strings on it at a 36-inch height. So I'm going to press that one more time, and I'm going to flip my lever back again, and then we're going to fill it again. And you can see I'm about 4 or 5 inches down from my 36-inch height, and it's slowly rising back up a little bit, but not much. All right, I'm going to make my third filling, and this should be the one where I can tie it off. All right, this is my third filling. You can see I got it full to the top. Another thing that I did, that I had the camera turn off when I did it, after the second filling, I went ahead and pulled these up, and I pulled about 6 or 8 inches of string up from the bottom up to give me more string to tuck down and push through the door in a minute. I did that on both sides, and you'll see why that's helpful to do here in just a minute. I learned after doing a couple of bales that it's easier to do this after the first or second press than it is at the very end, because things start to get real tight then. All right, so we're going to flip this over, and you can see my foot right there. I'm going to push it back. Now I got to push this down back here because it doesn't want to go against the back wall because the hay's in the way. And I'm going to lift it up and push it back again. Now I'm against that back wall better. Not completely. I'm going to pull it down some and then push it back again. Now I'm completely against the back. And with this tight against the back wall, you see why it's important to have those top cleats beveled, so that as this comes down with all that pressure, it slides off and down the front of the cleat instead of catching the cleat and trying to rip it off the back wall. Now I'm going to walk my way out here, and we're going to use our leverage and our lever to press this down again. I'm going to switch hands one more time to my strong side. And you can hear it creaking a little bit, putting all that pressure on it. Now I've compressed that bale well below 36 inches, and it's super tight. You can see how tight it is in there. I'm going to add just a few more inches of hay to top it off. All right, I did my fourth and final compression. I've got it topped off. It's at 36 inches, and I'm ready to tie my strings off. What I do is I pull one string up here. I push it down between the hay and the front of the door to get my loop out here where I can pull my loop out. Okay, there's one. Now I'll come around here and do the same thing with my other one. Pull it up out of the thing, tuck it down in here, push it between the hay and the door, and shove it out the front there where I can reach in here and grab it. And now I have my second loop. Boom. Now I'm going to take my strings and pull them up here through the loops and just pull it down. And I'm going to pull both of these down. I'm going to need both hands, so I'm going to stop the video, but I'm going to put the other one through the loop, pull both of these down super tight, and tie them off. Okay, I've got both of these tied off, and you can see the strings are tucked down deep into the bale now. I'm at a 36-inch height. I've already undone my hasps. I've got these tied, and look at that. A beautiful 19-inch wide by 15-inch deep by 36-inch long hay bale. And all you have to do to get it out of there is just pull to pop it loose from the back. And as it pops loose from the hooks, the bale comes right on out. Sorry, I had to stop the video because I needed both hands for a second there. What I did was I grabbed the string here with my left hand and grabbed under the string there with my right, and just pulled, because this bale is pressed so tight in there. It's not the strings and the cleats that are holding it back, it's just the bale itself, the compression of the bale inside the cabinet. But I pulled the bale right on out, and there you go. There's a perfect 15-inch wide by 19-inch wide by 36-inch long bale. Sit it up on its edge, boom. There's your hay bale. And there's another one, and there's another one. I'm going to make several more. Now all you have to do is clean out the bottom a little bit. Go ahead and repeat the process of cutting and tying your strings, feeding them in, putting the hoops in the notches, and then tucking the strings between the back of the hooks and the cleats. Bring them through the door, close your door, refill, press about 3 or 4 times, tie your strings off, pull another bale out. So that's all there is to it. That's a homemade bale maker. Works really well. If you're a farmer and you got to make thousands of bales, this isn't the way to do it. But if you're a home gardener and you've got access to grass and hay material that you can bale up, or you've got somebody like me that has a lot of broken bales, that sells bales, and they're willing to give me the broken bales because it's too expensive for them to rebale the material, and they just need somebody to haul it off, you can get it and make your own bales. Also, I have a large portion of my yard, not up front here, this is mostly centipede, but back there and all back in there, all of this here is bahia grass. The same thing that these hay bales are all made out of, bahia grass. So I'm going to this year I'm going to start letting this backyard grow and get the 2.5, 3 foot tall tillers. Then I'm going to use my bush hog on my tractor to cut it, because it cuts it off at the bottom without mulching it, and then piles it all up on the left side of the deck in a nice neat row. And from there I can pick it all up with my yard rake that I pull behind my tractor, my yard brush that picks up the material, bring it over here, stack it up, and make bales from it after it sits out and dries for a few days. So that's it, hay bale maker. Took me about 3 hours yesterday and 3 hours today to finish the project. Probably could have done it a little quicker if I'd have had a plan with the measurements and the pieces all laid out for me. I had to really just go by the pictures from online and use the measurements from the bale size I wanted and backwards engineer it between the pictures and mechanical knowledge and knowing what size I want my bales. It's going to do it for this gardening tip edition of the 52-week garden. That's how you make your own hay bale maker and make your own hay bales. Now, whether you garden in hay bales like I do, or straw bales, or whether you garden in the ground or container gardening, whatever you choose to do, I can't encourage you enough to garden. Growing something yourself and then enjoying the fruits of your labor, feeding yourself, is a very rewarding endeavor. You get physical exercise, you get positive mental attitude, you get the sense of satisfaction, and you get nutritious food that you know exactly where it came from and what went into it. So I'm going to wrap up this edition of the 52-week gardens bale garden tips, and encourage you to get out there and grow something.